or better sometimes.
Thank you.
Good evening. Welcome to the Danvers Conservation Commission meeting for May the 23rd, 2024. We operate under the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Chapter 26 of the Town of Danvers General Bylaw, the Wetlands Protection Bylaw. After each applicant presents his or her request and the board has had time to ask questions and discuss the project, we will accept questions from the audience. Because this is a public meeting, it's required by law that you give your name and address before you speak. Although we may disagree on the issues raised, all persons present during this meeting are expected to be civil to all other meeting attendees. This includes members of the commission, staff, abutters, concerned citizens, property owners, and project applicants. We also request that you confine your questions to the project and only as it pertains to the Wetlands Act. We cannot handle, nor do we have jurisdiction over other matters such as noise or traffic. All problems not related to the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Danvers Wetlands Protection Bylaw must be taken up with the other appropriate boards. Our first order of business will be roll call. Peter Wilson is present. Jonathan Garveys.
Present.
Mary Haight. Michael Splain.
Yeah.
And we'd like to introduce a new member, Lorraine Drapek, who's to my right, present.
Present.
So welcome, Lorraine.
Welcome, Lorraine.
All right, first up is a request for a certificate of compliance for 17 Tibbetts Ave, DEP file number 14-1157. The applicant is Laura Miles. Is she here? Hi, Laura. This is work that was done a while ago, correct? And someone's been out to the site?
Yeah, staff went out to the site on May 15th, met the applicant as well as a representative from Hancock. All work was complete and staff is satisfied with all the conditions that have been met with the order of conditions. And we're recommending issuing a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 14-1157.
Okay, I really don't have any questions. Mike, do you have any questions?
No?
No questions.
Jonathan? Lorraine? Here's your chance. Okay, if someone can make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we issue an order of conditions. For
Certificate of compliance.
Oh, so I'm sorry, no, you're right. I take that back. I make a motion that we issue a certificate of compliance for 17 Tibbetts Avenue, DEP file number 14-1157, with the following conditions that I'll just summarize. That the maximum limit permitted under in the riverfront area has been reached. No further activity is permitted unless filed with a limited project. Note that's to be noted on the certificate of compliance. The restoration area is to be planted in accordance with the restoration plan. Planting will be monitored for a period of 2 growing seasons, not including the year of that the planting was done. No rock salt shall be used on the paved surfaces, and final grading shall not direct additional runoff onto the property of others. That's a summary of 82, 84, 85, 86, and 88. So.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor? Aye. Just one quick note, this was a long time since the order of conditions was issued, and I always encourage people to come back quickly when we issue an order of conditions, and we want to avoid situations like this. So good luck going forward.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, next up is a request for determination of applicability for 382 Newberry Street, RDA file number 2024-05. The applicant is the Boston Gas Company.
I have figures. I don't know if you've seen it. Just I think commission it.
Sure. I have a copy of that, I think. Yeah.
Keep your printer busy.
Yeah, oh, I know. I generally do.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, great, awesome. My name's Colin Conswitz, I'm from VHB, and we're representing Patrick Hutchinson, the applicant from Boston Gas. So this is for a proposed project at 382 Newberry Street. You can see the property there. And this is for a portion of work on the 382 Newberry Street and part of Old North Street. You can see it outlined in red there. So the proposed project, we do have wetlands associated with Nichols Brook. That kind of, you can see the green wetland on the figure there. And so we have the riverfront area, which is shown in the light blue dashed line extending from Nichols Brook. We have the 100-foot buffer zone shown in green. And then we have the 50-foot no-build zone in yellow, and then the 30-foot no-disturb zone in the purplish magenta you see there. So the proposed project is a gas main installation. It's just extending service from the public roadway onto this private property. Proposed work is going to be entirely buried within paved surfaces, so no impacts proposed to any buffer zones or wetland resource areas. Part of the construction, it'll be installation by trenching in the roadway, so they'll saw cut the pavement, dig an approximate 2.5 foot wide trench by 3 to 4 foot deep trench. They're only going to complete work within what can be done per 1 day of work, and then backfill appropriately. And so we are proposing various BMPs and erosion controls for this project. Includes temporary stabilization for any pits that are left open, or covering it with a road plate so that no soil's left disturbed at the end of the workday. Pavement sweeping and dust control if needed, and then structural practices like erosion controls, so such as straw wattles or compost filter tubes. You can see also outlined, it's a little difficult to see, but the almost a magenta next to the 35-foot no disturb zone that protects the limit of work.
Would you just point that out again? Then
Yeah, it's going to be these erosion controls right here. That'll be in between the work area, the red line, and then the wetland resource areas, the green shaded areas. We're also proposing catch basin inlet protection, and then any dewatering apparatus if a high water table is experienced within the limit of work.
Is that the Nichols Brook with the white outline?
Yeah, so the
Yes.
Nichols Brook, that's the property boundary. So it comes right through here. It's within these two wetland complexes. So it kind of flows underneath the roadway from east. Yeah.
Right, I'm familiar with it, coming across from the other side.
you live near there.
And also our last BMP is just soil stockpiling. If there needs to be any soil to stockpiling, it'll be outside of buffer zones and also surrounded by erosion controls. So there's no fear of sediment running off
Will
into
that
resources.
be over in the Honda North area, or?
Yes, yeah. Either in the north area or in the south area on the parcel. And then as far as the regs, this work is exempt from the Wetlands Protection Act as a minor activity within buffer zone and riverfront area. And then per the Danvers Wetlands bylaw, this can be considered a limited project under the Wetland Protection Act because it involves a utility installation and providing service, natural gas service or a public utility service to an abutting parcel. So yeah, that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have, and hope to receive a negative determination.
I'm sorry, what was your erosion control again? I mean, in my opinion, it's got to be pretty robust.
Yeah, so we're proposing straw wattles or compost filter tubes, just as like just a barrier for sediment. It's a case-by-case basis. We can install silt fence as well. I know it's entirely under the work's in roadway, but obviously there's kind of the grass shoulder on the side that, if desired, we can certainly have silt fence installed in those areas.
And will the road be repaved when the work is completed?
I'm not sure. I know it's going to be repatched and paved where the trenching's going. I don't know if the entire roadway itself will be like resurfaced after the trenching.
Brian, I'm not sure if you have the answer, but I'm going to ask. The 200 North Street, has some open permit from us to install a water main. I'm not sure how these two projects will interact, if at all.
I don't see how construction activities would interfere in this case, at all.
And the secondary question is, will someone from your office monitor this work on a fairly frequent basis?
So they're going to have to be working with DPW for street opening permits and any, so there will certainly be someone, but are you talking about from planning and conservation routinely? No, we
But
typically
I just wanna
go
make
at the
sure.
beginning and we go at the end. I would also say this is probably a zero chance of a curb to curb paving. This is probably a trench.
Just to-
They cut it, they repave it and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's all the questions I have for now. Mike, do you have any?
Yeah, we just, with the pointer or your finger, just show the actual, where the gas lines are going?
Yeah, so that's gonna be the red line.
Yeah.
Kind of from North Street here, and then following the driveway here, and then into the.
That's, how long would the total, that's quite long, what, 1,400?
Yeah, it's, I'm sorry if I didn't say the length.
Yeah.
It's 1,150 feet.
Okay. And is that replacing some old lines, or is this a new service?
So this is a new service.
And what are you servicing?
So it's a car dealership there. It's a Honda facility.
Oh, the
and,
Honda place.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Boston Gas received an order from the client from Honda to install this. So that's why it's coming to you from
And
Boston Gas.
they don't have gas now?
Apparently not.
Oh,
I wouldn't think so if they're proposing this.
yeah, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
So, and then just describing the work, like staff mentioned, how wide would the trench be on the work? And
Yeah, so it's going to be a 2 to 3 foot wide trench, and they'll saw cut the roadway in order to get the pavement out of the way, and then open it up with an excavator, dig it approximately 3 to 4 foot trench deep, install the natural gas conduit, and then backfill with existing material.
where does it tie in? I mean, where does it begin? I mean, it ties in somewhere, right?
Yeah, so it's going to tie in at the very top of the figure. I know the line, we don't have the best, I guess, tie-in location of where it'll be, but it'll be somewhere within North Street in that roadway.
How long will the project take?
A project of this size would probably take about 2 weeks,
2 weeks?
just approximate. I can get specifics if
No.
desired, but
About 2 weeks?
yeah.
All right, that's all the questions I have, thank you.
Okay.
I had a question, Kellen, what's the culvert that it crosses where Nichols Brook goes under the roadway there? Do you know what that culvert is?
Like the make of the culvert?
Yeah, the make and the size, or,
Uh,
and how that line will actually interact with where it crosses?
yeah, I know all,
Good question.
Is that gas line gonna go under the road but over the existing culvert, so kind of in between them?
exactly. Yeah, that's typical for utilities are installed above the roadway culvert, that the culvert's deep enough where we're not impacting it when we
Okay.
dig down.
How deep does the gas line have to be?
So it'll go 3 to 4 feet below grade, and then the culvert will be further below that.
So 3 would be the minimum that you would?
Yes, exactly.
So you're not expecting that the gas line work will interact with the culvert at all?
Yeah, we're not.
The stream or the culvert?
Yeah, if it is shallower than expected, that's usually just a field change where they, raise up the natural gas infrastructure slightly just to not impact the culvert.
I'm just curious, I can't help but notice now that I've been living on Locust Street for some time, that they have those large poles running through people's yards and through the bike path and along. And do they continue down there as well?
It's a good question. I have a photo log in the application at your desk, and I'm not sure if there is overhead utilities on
But that's
this
a
road or
requirement
not.
now to have the, you know what I'm talking about? The bright,
I know which one you're talking. It's
Yeah.
like a gas line that goes across streets through woods.
you see across
Oh,
streets,
gotcha.
continuous through
It
woods,
has
and
those little-
sometimes they're in people's yards, yeah.
Yeah, those little protective
Yeah, they're
yellow
about that-
markers.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
yellow
Yeah.
caps.
Yeah, that's usually for gas transmission lines. So those would be larger pipes with kind of a greater pressure to them. This is just going to be a smaller like distribution gas line. So there shouldn't be any of those.
What,
pylons.
smaller being what diameter?
So it's 4-inch and 2-inch they're
Yeah.
installing here.
And then there must be some safety precautions that are taken when you hook these up?
Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm a wetland scientist myself, so I'm not specific, or I don't know the specifics on the gas infrastructure side of things, but there are standard safety specs that they follow for each installation.
You're not involved with the actual work, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately.
All right, I guess that's all the questions I have.
Okay, thanks. Jonathan, are you all
Yes,
set?
all set, yeah.
Well, Lorraine, any questions? All right, just one little nitpicking on my part.
Sure.
Years ago, the Nichols Brook was deemed to be a, what's the opposite of perennial? An intermittent stream. Do you know what it's rated as now?
I mean, we designate a riverfront area here, which would mean it's a perennial stream. And I believe we looked up on the USGS mapping that it does designate it as a perennial stream. And also if you run, I forget what website it's through, but Stream Stats, you can see certain statistics for the stream and whether it meets the Wetlands Protection Act designation as a perennial stream.
I agree. I mean, I live in the area a little farther off the picture on North Street. But the reason I say that is because when the butchery was built, the Conservation Commission at the time deemed that to be an intermittent stream.
Mhm.
So,
And it's still that way?
I'm not sure. In my opinion, it's a perennial stream because it's always moving.
Right.
Uh,
I
If
mean,
it doesn't dry up at least, what, once a year, or?
right, exactly. And then it has to meet certain flow characteristics too.
Right.
But yeah, this met.
Well, is it treated as a perennial for purposes of
that's why
showing
you
our
have the 200
jurisdiction?
Yes, yeah,
That's why you
exactly.
You are
have the
treating it
200-foot
that way, so,
Border.
yeah. Are these guys from Honda?
No,
Not that I know of.
I was wondering.
Okay, there's no one from the public here,
No
so I
one's
guess
here.
no public comment. There's no one online, is there?
No.
Okay, if it's a quote-unquote, it's a limited project, more or less, right? So there's just,
Yes, exactly.
you don't
Yeah.
have as much discretion here. All right, someone can make a motion? We'll move ahead.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability for 382 Newbury Street, DCC file number 202405.
And that means we're making a finding this is a limited project, correct?
Well, it does qualify for a limited project, but you don't, the vote is simply that it doesn't apply.
You don't need to
You
make
don't
that.
have to make that in this particular case, because you could still put other potential conditions on a limited project. This is, you're just issuing that it doesn't, it's a negative determination of any applicability.
Without any specific conditions in this case.
I would note that, so they did have erosion control on their plan, so we would like all those erosion control measures to be in place. So we could, we could say according to the plan provided.
Well, our chair said he wanted robust erosion control, so are they proposing more than, what are you exactly gonna use?
I think he said they were going to use.
Yeah, it's typically up to the contractor for what they want to use based on the work and the environmental monitor too. So from Boston Gas, which operates as National Grid, or a consultant, VHB, like us, will recommend an erosion control that the contractor can use to protect the resource areas. And yeah, we can certainly recommend a robust
Okay,
erosion
and
control.
they're going to close up the hole every night.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so that's, prevents even for any sediment from running off into
Right.
resource areas.
I know we're in the
first
middle
place.
of a motion, but how do you close the hole up?
Either you backfill it with existing material and you'll stabilize it, whether it's temporary paving or just with a steel plate.
Steel plate?
They'll put over it.
Okay, the motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, good luck.
Great.
I'm sure.
Thank you
did
all,
ask
appreciate
Mike
it.
when, this project's going to happen soon? This
You said-
project's going to happen soon?
I believe this summer it's planned for. I can get back with the agent too to let you all know.
Okay.
For this year, it's fine.
All right, good. Thank you.
I was, just as an aside, I was just curious if there's any from Honda. I was just wondering why they want, all of a sudden wanted gas. They've been there for 20 years, I think.
I know, right?
I get my car there, so I was curious. All right.
Planning
Okay,
to sell and build a giant condo complex. That's the next step.
The first step.
Yeah, I'm
in
a
doing
little scary. We'll see.
it. Well, as long as they do this job right, that's all we care about.
Yeah.
Notice of intent for 100 Independence Way, DEP file number 14-14, which is blank, so you have no DEP number. The applicant is Massport, and I might,
Hey Pete, how are you? Hi Lorraine.
how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. You That it? We're on? Okay. So let's move right along. So I'll try not to bore you with the facts, except I know we have a new commission member, so I'll kind of walk through it real quickly. So on April 23rd, we're before the planning board. We're proposing a Danvers Logan Express at Liberty Tree Mall on the lot behind the police station. We went before the planning board on the 23rd of April for a preliminary review of a temporary facility. It's going to be a two-phase move. Right now, there's a PB Logan Express. Originally, there was a Logan Express on Route 1 South in Peabody. It was extremely unsuccessful, and they closed it down a couple of years ago because the only way you could get to it is coming Route 1 South. You couldn't get there from 95. You couldn't get there from going north. It was unsuccessful. They closed it. There was a lot of political pressure 2 years ago. State senators and representatives came to Massport, said they wanted the service on the North Shore. We met in Peabody. The North Shore Mall seemed to be a good location right off of Prospect Street. We put in a temporary facility there with the intention of going to permanent.
We lost it.
We were a tenant on that property with Simon Properties, and let's just say the deal fell through, and they wanted to put a hotel on the site where we were, so we're looking for a new home. Interestingly enough, we ended up partnering again with Simon, although this time we have a 40-year lease on that parcel behind the Danvers Police Station. Until recently, that lot was only used to store school buses for a number of years. So we went before the planning board on the 23rd of April, looking for a temporary facility, which would be moving the Peabody facility that you see now, which is a series of trailers. There's an office trailer, there's a toilet trailer, and there's a bus shelter out there. Moving it over to the Danvers site, it'd probably be there for a period of up to 2 years. That'll give us time to design and build a new building. It'd be we're hoping to put in a single-story building, which we'll talk about a little bit further tonight. We got the planning board approval for the temporary facility on that night. We're with you folks on April 25th, and at that time we came before you not so much for the temporary facility, but we needed to install 4 utility poles to provide temporary electrical service. 3 of them fell within the 100-foot buffer. Those poles would be installed by Danvers Electric, and they'll be removed in about a year. They're going to be putting a duct bank along the property line adjacent where these poles exist, and we'll ultimately be pulling in permanent electrical service from Commonwealth Way, which is the loop road that goes around the mall by Dick's Sporting Goods and around the back. So tonight, we filed the notice of intent for a permanent facility, which would be the new building, and it'd be also the site improvements to the property. Right now, there's catch basins out on the property. This is, I think you can hear me okay, right? So this is the limits of the property. This site here was a site that was built by Danvers Electric roughly 3 years ago. That was a lease property from Simon, which now we have the lease, and Danvers Electric is no longer on the property. There is an easement that they're going to be putting in along the back line. The temporary facility will be completely contained on this parcel here. We have the trailers over in this area, which we talked about a month ago. So what we're looking for is we're going to put a permanent building on this site. That's our intention, that's what we hope to do. I'm here tonight with Madeline Sewell. She's an environmental expert from Massport. I'm also here with Will Schriefer. He's a project engineer, and Michael Turgeon, who's our wetland engineer. Michael and Will be presenting the technical details for the project.
Yeah.
Like I said, the proposed building, which would house waiting area, restrooms, ticketing, all of that would be on this parcel. We'd be connecting through here, which right now is a green area. This area is all paved right now. And then there'll be a lot of improvements to the main parcel over here.
Excuse
There'll
me,
be
Mike, what would the main parcel be used for, just for parking?
What was, excuse
The
me?
big portion, the last parcel, the light brown,
Over here.
right, is that all for parking?
It'll all be parking, yes.
How many spaces are in there?
Total spaces for the entire development are about 550. They'll be walking through it, but there'll be a short-term parking area over here. There'll be a building here. And then there'll be, some of this will be connecting sidewalks and the like through here. The engineers will walk through the site layout and I'll get in the details of that.
Okay.
So I don't want to trip them up too much here, impress them with my technical knowledge. Right now, the site is pretty blighted. There's trash strewn everywhere. The pavement's a mess. Everything's overgrown. There's no stormwater quality improvements on that site at all. There's a few catch basins, but no water quality units, anything like that. The proposed design, my engineers will walk through that. We'll improve all of that. You'll see there's a lot of water quality improvements, water infiltration. We're going to clean up the site. We're going to clean up the landscaping. We're going to put fencing completely around the property. There'll be 24-hour on-site security, including cameras and the like. So there'll be significant improvements out there. So at this point, if there's not any questions, I'll turn it over to my engineers, and then we can discuss.
Just, do you have any specific issues with DEP that you don't have with us?
I don't believe so, no.
No. All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So as he said, I'm Mike Turgeon from HNTB. I'm the wetlands section manager there. And I'll just talk about the existing conditions for a few minutes, hand it off to Will. He'll get into the proposed conditions, and then he'll hand it back to me to go over some of the like permitting requirements. So here you have, I think it was pretty well explained by Mike. The site is behind the police station, and then across, and that's on Ash Street, and then Commonwealth Ave, which goes around the mall, is where you get access to both lots now. And then across from the lots is the Sky Zone trampoline facility, and then Marshall's a little bit further down. The wetland is shown on this map that was flagged by HNTB last winter with minimal snow on the ground. It was flagged. It was found to be isolated, so it's an isolated vegetated wetland under the bylaw. It may be jurisdictional under the Wetlands Protection Act as isolated land subject to flooding, but no impacts are proposed within the wetland itself or within isolated land subject to flooding. So this is a bylaw-only filing, and no filing was submitted to DEP. So that map also shows the 35-foot no disturb in red, the 15-0 build in orange, and the 100-foot buffer in yellow. And I think that's everything for the existing conditions, and I'll hand it off to Will for the time being.
Thank you. Will Schrieffer with HNTB, just technical lead for the project. Brian, could you flip back to the existing conditions one? I just wanted to orient you before we got into the kind of proposed plans and explain a couple of the things that Mike did, and he got most of it. So the plans you'll see for the next 4 are going to start up here, basically just 4 slices of the site. We are going to be expanding this existing parking lot through here along the police station out to Ash Street, and there's also going to be an expansion that comes in around here, just to add a few more spaces to the lot for the overall operation.
Excuse me, did you say 500 parking spaces?
500, I believe the final total for total parking spaces is 560, and which may be dropping a little bit. It's between 550 and 560 in the long term only, which is basically this area, there. It's going to be about 540 parking
Do you
spaces.
anticipate that that'll be long-term parking for the, you require that much?
So it's not quite a requirement. It roughly matches what is out there at the Peabody site. So there are 250 spaces that are blocked off within Peabody. There are also 150 overflow spaces. So they have 400 parking spaces available right now. The 550 is covering that 400 and anticipating a little growth with an updated facility, with a larger one that we're building out. It's a little bit of hope, but it is pretty much roughly what we're projecting for the next 10, 20 years. That would be the demand for the North Shore one. So
And how many passages in a transport?
in a bus, I believe there's one bus running every hour for 22 hours a day from the bus.
Just the one bus? Yeah.
Just the one bus,
Oh.
and I believe there are 50 seats total on those buses. Something around there, I could be
Yeah.
a little bit off, is 50. So 50 max for every trip, once every hour.
Thank you. I was just trying to get a sense of the operation.
Absolutely.
I can tell you I'm on it all the time.
One thing that's kind of unique
I
with,
fly a lot, and I'm on it all the time.
It is a good thing.
the one thing that's kind of unique with this facility, it's very different than what you see around it with the retail and office facilities, particularly the retail. People that park here are going to the airport. They're leaving their cars for days and weeks. So with Planning Board, we've gone through a lot of the traffic concerns. 550 spaces sounds like a lot of spaces, a lot of traffic, but it translates
It's
to...
not a lot of, I get that.
It
But you know what,
translates-
that must be a security issue with all those parked,
So,
all those parked Beamers and then BMWs and everything.
not
Well,
my
it is
car,
right behind
not
the
my
police
car.
station, though, so.
Okay. I think they said they're
The,
going to have full-time security.
So the site will be completely fenced. We'll also have security cameras throughout the site. There's revenue control gates at all the portals, so there's going to be essentially in this area over here, right at the thermostat, I guess, there's going to be, that's where the entry and exit lanes are to the lot. So you press a button, you get a ticket to go in, and you pay to park. I think it's $6 a day for people to park.
So it's very secure parking, you're saying?
Excuse me?
Very secure.
It's secure. There's actually a driveway in the back by the police station as well. It exists right now. So the police actually come through here. They use it for access. And there's been a conversation that they'd like to remain access. We're going to do something with transponders or something. There will be a revenue, not a revenue
moving
gate,
it.
but a control gate there, and they'll have some sort of transponder system we'll put in. So the issue is the police station's here on Ash Street, which is a one-way going that way.
Right.
So if they need to respond to calls, they've always come through here, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to put that in there with the transponder, and then a pathway here with a designated gate for them, so they can come right out and serve this side of town without having to go all the way out and try
Right.
to circle back.
So for the public, though, there's just one in and out.
Exactly. They'll only come in now through the revenue control gates over here.
Right, perfect.
Any other questions on the
I had a quick
facility at all right
question
now?
on the isolated wetland. What is
Oh, I
the
did too.
What is the source of the water?
That's back to these guys. I
Yeah.
just answer the easy ones.
I think it's groundwater. Potentially runoff from the parking lots.
Yeah, I think we'd like to know for sure.
Can I
And-
ask too, when you're done?
There's just one other, there's a wetland to the, if this is north and south, to the south of the big parking lot, between that and the storage facility. Is that going to be impacted by, is it impacted by water coming off that parking lot now? And if not, is that going to be something that's going to be controlled with your improvements?
So let me just clarify the question. You're asking if there is runoff from the existing parking lot going to that wetland resource right now?
The southern one, and there were two questions, and then the source of the water for the one that you have highlighted.
Just to echo Mike, we're not 100% sure what the source of water is. We think it's groundwater, possibly runoff from the Danvers electric lot. We're not really clear. There's nothing that's clear by topography why water is there. We just know that it is. As far as effects from runoff from the parking lots that are here, all of the runoff in both of those parking lots, so the high point of the site is generally here. It all drains down to this corner for the main lot. This also kind of drains down again to that low corner. Everything for that large parking lot is collected by 3 catch basins that are on the kind of last bank before Commonwealth Ave and drains to the same closed drainage system that has the mall. It ends up in Crane River. It definitely does not go to that wetland. It's not graded that way. None of the impervious for either of the parking lots does end up there. And it's kind of the same thing for this lot that's here. There's a catch basin here, there's a catch basin here. All of the drainage from that existing lot goes to those catch basins, and then again into the closed drainage system that's associated with the mall, which eventually dumps in the Crane River, but does not dump into that wetland. And as it's not happening in the existing condition, we can't propose that in the proposed condition. It would be a different design point. We can't increase runoff there. We are not proposing to send any runoff to that wetland.
Okay, perfect.
All right, and then just to circle back to the next slides that you're going to see, it'll be just 4 plans of the permanent condition, and I'll kind of walk you through what we're doing. We're going to start up top right here. You can go to the next slide. So we're going to be building out along that stretch up to Ash Street, just additional parking spaces as well as a turnaround for anyone that does park up there to be able to go to the end and turn around if they do not find any parking spaces. We're going to be proposing, and I can walk through in more detail what we're doing for stormwater, but there's going to be stormwater facilities along both edges, here and right here. You can go to the next slide. And then pretty much all of this, other than this small portion you see over here, and then a small, maybe 8-foot section along this side, is entirely within the footprint of the existing parking lot. So we tried to stay to that footprint to the greatest extent possible, other than basically the 2 extensions that you see to add parking spaces. Again, we're doing stormwater facilities around here and along this edge. I'll talk through those in more detail when we get to the stormwater slide, and you can go to the next one. And this is where we start to run into where the wetland is. So again, this is the extension that you can see over here, as well as just the small portion that extends over there. We made sure to orient our parking spaces and lot to not impact the 50-foot no build along this barrier here. So that just, basically laid out to avoid any permanent impacts within that 50-foot along the parking lot. Again, stormwater facilities kind of spread out mainly on the 2 sides, as well as some underground, which we'll talk through on in 2 slides. Can we go to the next slide? And this is that kind of small parking lot at the bottom that was built for Danvers Electric. This is where we're going to be placing the building. Right in this location, there's going to be a bus loop. Buses are going to come in, turn through there, pick up, drop off passengers there, and exit back out that way. This is the short-term parking lot. It would be there for taxis, Ubers, Lyfts, and people that are just dropping off significant others. Be 45-minute only parking. All of the long-term parking is in that larger lot. And then you can go to the next slide.
So not everybody would be using the bus, I suspect, right? Would they?
Or they're taking the bus into Boston, but there's just different modes of
Just-
them being dropped off.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just the drop-off then?
It's a drop-off for those same people that are doing that just aren't parking their own cars. They take a taxi or an Uber to the station itself, or, significant other family member drops them off to take the bus so they don't have to park overnight. And this is kind of an overview of the stormwater that we're proposing on the site. As I mentioned, the whole site kind of drains, at least as far as the orientation on plan here, north to south. It's a little bit more like northwest to southeast, but we'll just follow the plan orientation for that. So to take advantage of the green space that we did have, obviously it exists and is proposed as a large, wide open expanse of pavement. So we took advantage of the green space that we do have along the edges to manage in place, especially with low impact development measures and grass wherever we could. There's going to be a grass channel that basically extends along this entire line. So mostly stormwater drains kind of to that line, so we wanted to take advantage of the natural grading patterns of the site to incorporate that kind of low impact development strategy. It's a grass channel which provides water quality on its own, and then spaced out through there, picking up that runoff and sending it to manage for recharge, for peak flow, and for additional water quality treatment. Some underground basins that are kind of spread out to pick off runoff as it's coming through along this edge. There is an infiltration basin that's proposed up there. It's basically taking runoff from that piece of the parking lot that's stretching up towards Ash Street, providing mitigation for recharge, water quality, and peak rate as well. And then most of this portion of the new parking lot over here generally drains to, again, grass channels that kind of ring, take advantage of where we do have green space on the site to incorporate those, and then to a small infiltration basin, and it's all being proposed to, as it does in the existing condition, connect to the closed drainage system that's associated with the mall, just be significant upgrades on water quality and peak flow mitigation relative to what's out there now, which is nothing. And associated with the building and the small parking lot over here, also some surface infiltration basins, as well as, one more underground infiltration basin to provide recharge and treatment for the building, for the short-term parking lot that's over there. Again, draining no stormwater in existing or proposed to the jurisdictional wetland that's on
Are
that.
you increasing the impervious?
Overall, yes.
How
We are
much?
increasing by about 30,000 square feet, maybe 31,000, which is
What's
which
that-
is part of the reason we're putting in so much stormwater. We do have to provide for the peak rate mitigation for that additional impervious that's going in there, and of course, recharge and water quality. And compliance with all that is demonstrated in the stormwater report.
The areas you're increasing impervious, what's that land look like now? What is it?
So the areas we're increasing are largely over here and over here. In this particular area, there are a few trees, mostly grassed. It's that barrier between the police station and the Ford lot. In this area, where we are also extending the parking lot, it is largely trees and other vegetation. Not in great shape right now, especially the stretch that's directly adjacent to the parking lot. But as you get further from there, there are trees that would be within the 100-foot buffer that would be taken down to make room for the
And to
parking
make
lot
room,
addition.
how many parking spaces are you making room for over there?
In that particular area, we're adding roughly, I believe, 30 to 40 associated with this. So inclusive of this bank, this bank, this bank, and what we're able to build out here is roughly, I believe, about 40 parking spaces. And then I'm going to turn it over to Mike to discuss some of the jurisdictional impacts that we're having.
But you're increasing the impervious so you can have more parking, right?
Yes.
Because in Peabody, you're at 250 and you want to go to 500.
We're at about 400 in Peabody with the overflow spaces, so when that lot is full, as far as what's directly right by the trailers, there is an additional agreement for 150 more parking spaces at a different portion of the property. So we're going from 400 to about 550 available parking spaces. Obviously, on this one, they're all concentrated on one site. Peabody, it's 400, but over the lot itself and a bit of an overflow lot.
Thank you.
Next. So there's several waivers that we're requesting for this. The first waiver is for work in the 35-foot no disturb zone. And that So here's the wetland boundary in green, going around. This is the new building. The walkway around the building. The 35 no disturb zone goes through here. It's depicted in orange.
Is any of the building in the no build or no disturb?
Portion, I'll get to the, that's in the no build. There's no, right now, currently, most of the no disturb zone is paved, but in this area where it's orange, the only places where it's not paved are in this triangle here and in this area here.
That's the current
That's
situation.
existing, this is not paved, this little square, rectangle here, and the triangle up here are not paved. Everything else is paved. And all of the existing pavement in the 35 no disturb is going to be removed. So the only impacts in the 35 no disturb zone are is the removal of pavement and then loaming and seed. Next slide, please. And then in the 50 no build zone, we have a portion of the building here in the darker orange. And this is a portion of the walkway around the building. And then the lighter orange is areas where we're also removing pavement and building and seed. So there's like 1,245 square feet associated with the building, which is on a paved surface, currently a paved surface. And then there's 2,000 square feet of pavement removal and loaming and seeding associated.
Is most of the area of the building that's in the no build, is it pavement now?
But, yeah, this whole area is in that smaller parking lot. And so that where the building is going, this is all being built, existing edge of pavement comes out to here. Right, or if you go back to the previous slide.
Just a second.
This is all the no disturb zone, right? This is all the existing pavement that's coming out. This is loaming and seed, this is loaming and seed, and this is all pavement here. So the edge of the existing pavement goes around the erosion controls, which communicates. And the building, and this one's here, and the 50 no build goes around like this. Go back to no build slide, please.
You want to go back a slide?
Up forward, back to the 50 no build, please.
Yep.
Next slide.
It's going on mine, but for some reason it hasn't changed online yet. Meaning I'm looking at the correct slide, but
It's,
it has not. I'll stop sharing and see if.
Issue the permit for this building?
No, for some reason it won't. Yeah, it won't. Like I've changed it on mine. I've also now stopped sharing completely, but it's still going on.
Yeah.
Curious how stuff.
sorry about
You won't know. Georgia might, but
What do you?
I can share
well,
again.
they're removing concrete pavement. Why do we allow that? And do we allow it because it was a limited project?
Let me see if I, so as long as it depends on you.
Yeah, well, I'm not sharing at all.
That is a temporary, the one they're gonna do?
That's my question. Is this, with area now, is that the parking lot? that temporary thing? 'Cause I think they said the town of Danvers leased it from the mall company.
Hmm.
That is up.
So maybe you want to ask
But
him that.
I think overall my question is, there's so much space there. They want all kinds of waivers.
That application's 348 pages.
You print it all out?
No, just printed out what, you know, I mean, when you go in and pull it up,
Yeah.
you know, if you hit print, and then if you don't limit the page,
So the other thing too is that they did, those spaces, I mean, I ride it a lot, those spaces. So like you go early in the morning, the 4:15 buses, they're filled.
It's a
with-
lot.
Previous slide, the ratio, we've got about 2,000 square feet of removal of pavement and installation, and loaming and seeding. And then we do have the building encroaching by 11 feet into the no-build zone, but that area is already an impervious area within the existing parking lot.
We need to do a site visit on this?
Yes. So,
Yes.
well, so
Absolutely, yeah.
the recommendation, because we
Yeah.
couldn't, because there's no DEP file number, we can't vote tonight.
Yeah.
The recommendation from staff was that we do a site visit before June 11th, which is when they're going to be in front of the planning board, so that we could at least have any issues or concerns that we were talking about, we could at least have that
You
before.
coordinate that?
Yeah, we
That's
would,
pretty
staff
There-
would
there will
coordinate
soon.
that.
There won't
Yeah.
be a DEP file number, but there will be, because we only filed with the Conservation Commission under the bylaw. We did not file with DEP because we're not impacting the isolated land subject to flooding. And there's no buffer zone for isolated land
You
subject
say
to
you
flooding.
don't have to file with DEP?
Correct.
They're not hitting any triggers for them.
So that,
Yeah.
there's no buffer zone for isolated land subject to flooding. And we're not going into the isolated land subject to flooding, so we're not impacting a jurisdictional area under the Wetlands Protection Act, but we are impacting areas that are
That's
subject to...
interesting, because if that wasn't isolated, then you would be
Right, if it-
addressing DEP.
Correct.
So just to finish your thought, you are impacting what?
We are not, we're impacting the buffer zone to the isolated vegetated wetland, but we're not impacting the isolated vegetated wetland.
We're just in the buffer zone.
We're in the buffer zone. The first 35 feet, we're removing pavement and planting the grass. And then in the next 15 feet, we're removing 2,000 square feet of pavement and installing grass. And then we're building that, a portion of the building comes out in there, 11 feet. And then
an isolated, is it 100 feet
there's a narrow,
besides the no building?
a narrow piece further along where we
Yeah,
were
it just kept
doing
going,
that,
so.
the extension of the park.
Yeah, with the isolated, you know, like if we were talking about a river, we'd have 100 foot and 200 an inner and an outer.
Right.
What is it with the isolated?
There's no buffer zone.
No
for
buffer at all, that's what
Isolated
you
land
say.
subject to flooding.
Yeah, so there's no 100, there's no 200, there's just the no build and the no disturb.
There's,
Is that what you?
there's 100 under under the bylaw, you have the no disturb, which goes out to 35, the no build, which goes out to 50, and the 100-foot buffer zone.
But no 200.
No 200
Right.
under the bylaw.
Just to interject real quick, so between the 0 and the 50 that's happening on the site, it's increase in it's an increase in impervious surface. So there's going to be pavement leaving, grass coming in the 0 to 50. So the 0 to 50 is getting better. The 50 to 100 is getting slightly worse, and the rest is outside of that 100.
Is
That's
outside
the
of our
summary of what's
jurisdiction.
happening. Because, again, this relates to the stormwater permit as well as the planning board, we thought it made the most sense for you guys to go out there. I would coordinate that meeting sometime before the June 11th so that this could potentially get buttoned up shortly after that.
And they have to get stormwater permitting
Oh,
separate.
yeah,
Separate from us.
there's a huge amount of stormwater infrastructure that they have to put into this project.
Yeah.
So yes, they definitely need a stormwater permit. They're very well aware of that. They're also been talking a lot with Stephen King, town engineer, to try to make that happen in a time frame that corresponds to the rest of the permitting.
Okay, well, let's get out there and have a look.
Yeah.
So staff will coordinate a meeting sometime before the 11th. Hopefully it'll be sometime next week, potentially dovetailing with that site visit that we missed today because of the storm.
Yeah.
I'll be in touch with the applicant so that they can move forward on the 11th.
Is that, will that area be marked off for the building, and so we'll know?
We'll have it marked out for you. If
Yeah.
you know in advance, when the walk is, we'll paint it up.
Yep, sure.
We'll paint the
Yep.
building.
And Brian, just one quick request, could you research, we approved a project in that vicinity fairly recently, within the last couple of years, to build, I thought it was a temporary parking lot, but something with the electric division was moving its
It was
substation.
that lot that was built, right, that you saw the little auxiliary lot, which is where the building is going to be. It was that lot.
So it's the same lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that impact what's going on now? I mean,
Well, that's why they're that's why they're in front of this now. In terms of those conditions, no, it was just a
Whatever
parking, it was just a
conditions-
parking lot.
it was temporary?
Well, it's, no, it was not temporary. The parking lot still exists today.
Yeah.
No, but
Well, the
what was there
conditions-
before? Because, what I'm driving at is we permitted them to put a parking lot within our no build and no disturb zone.
Correct.
And what motivated us to do that? Was this a limited project? Was there something?
It was needed for an electric, I don't know if it was a substation. I'm not
It was a
exact.
substation.
Yeah.
That was the reason for the moving things around down there. You know, are we kidding ourselves by, we granted a limited project to a utility, now we're just saying, yeah, go ahead and just do what you need to do.
Well, the thing is, it's already paved over, so the impervious nature is not getting any worse than what it is there, than
But
what's
we
there
can
now.
look at the earlier permitting to see what we did, or what conditions were put on.
Sure,
I
we can
mean,
bring that out to the site visit.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
take a look and just see what you
Yeah.
see and let
Yeah.
us know. I mean, I think overall, it's a good project, it's not
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
limited impact to the wetlands there. Okay, so we're pretty much ready to continue then, right?
Yeah.
We can't go any farther. All right, someone can make a motion, we'll continue to our June 27th meeting? Because we will not have a meeting
I'll
on
make a
June-
motion, we continue to our June 27th meeting.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Okay, so we'll see you.
Thank you.
In 4 weeks, a month, whenever. Old and new business, the meetings from May 9th. Has everyone had a chance to review, and any questions, comments? Well said?
I'm all set on that. You weren't there for that
No.
one. Here's the draft, you saw the draft. I read through it.
Okay, and you're good with it, they're accurate?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Jonathan, you all set with the meetings?
Yes, yep.
Okay, why don't we just vote to make a motion to accept those?
Yeah, you weren't here for that one either, the May 9th. That was Mary,
Oh, yeah, I was on
Ann, and
vacation.
myself.
Right.
Oh,
Right, yeah.
in that case, well, then only three
That
people could,
we
only
don't have
three people
enough
could
people
vote.
here to,
No, but only three people could vote, but two of them are the majority, which are the you two, so the two of you could vote those in. Because the majority of the people that could vote, Mary constitutes that third one. She's not here to vote.
and Ann was the other party.
Right, which is not here, but there, oh, so I guess there were
Yeah,
four.
so,
yeah,
no, we can't.
Can't.
We can't.
So are we in limbo on those?
Well, we'll
No,
just vote on it next time.
We did-
The next time-
Well, Mary will be.
Yeah, when Mary's here, she would be able
Mary
to
will
vote
be
them.
here,
Yep.
and then
Okay,
we'll
so-
have the majority of that three-party, there were
That's all
three
you
of
would
us.
need is those three.
Yeah,
All right, so that item
have
is going
two.
to just be passed along.
all right.
Okay, good enough. Thank you, everybody. And if someone can make a motion, we will adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
All in favor? I didn't get a second, Mike.
Second.
All in favor? All right.
Aye, aye.
Okay, Mike, enjoy your
And
long
then I
weekend.